Yeah.
And I want to get, before you go, can I just give our comrades, Willard and Dibbs?
Oh,
they do a great job with Steve Kerr, who they had on yesterday at 3. If you missed it, go check the Odyssey app. Download the Odyssey app and hear it in its entirety. But Steiny, they leave no meat on the bone. And you go ahead, because I feel like I can read your mind. We don't come in, what are you going to say, Goo? What are you going to say? But there was something that stuck out to me, and I want to see if it's where you're going.
So yesterday, Steve Kerr, coach of the Warriors, was on with Dan Dibley and Mark Willard. He came on after our show at 3 o'clock and talked about what happened with Draymond and why Steph did react the way he reacted. And one of the things that I can never really put it into words well, but sometimes stuff happens, and right when it happens, you react. And then a day or two goes by, and you just look at it differently. You realize, you know what? What happened the other night might have been a much bigger deal than you think. Or what happened the other night, now there's 3 other things that I've thought of since then to put into the equation.
Yeah.
And to me, in the last day, I get it, the Warriors played Wednesday and they play tonight. So nothing really happened yesterday, except we all thought about what happened on Wednesday.
And the world ran with it too, though, Scotty.
Yeah,
so something did happen in public opinion, but go ahead.
And I just think, I think this thing, the residual stuff from what happened with Draymond getting ejected Wednesday, it's starting to feel like a bigger deal than any of the things that he's done in the past. And what we're going to do, Goo, if you want to throw something in now, but we'll go right to it. We got 5 minutes of Steve Kerr. It's the first 3 or 4 questions from Willard and Dibbs. And the bottom line is I walked out of the show yesterday at 2:10. Thought, okay, well, Draymond will be back tomorrow, and he will be today.
Yeah.
But then I listened to the Steve Kerr interview, and I feel like something is irreparably changed.
Wow.
So what do you say, Evan? Let's take a listen to this. Yeah, I did say 10:15, but I figured let's get to it as soon as possible. But what did you think before we play it? And then we'll go ahead and play it.
It's kind of funny because we heard Steve Kerr talk at the post-game presser right after it happened, the day before he joined Willard and Dibbs yesterday on 95.7 The Game, Steiny. So I kind of listened to the interview thinking there won't be anything new. It'll kind of be what we heard him talk about at the podium, that he deserved to get thrown out. But Steiny, I've been in a lot of relationships. I've been in one for 21 years. That's called a marriage. And I've had some relationships go bad. But when the word unforgivable is used, like Coach Kerr used it yesterday, I almost crashed the caddy. I'm not trying to make this a bigger deal than it is, but when a head coach says his player did something that's unforgivable, to me, Steiny, I just wonder if that was the straw that broke the camel's back. Was Steph Curry's reaction, which went viral, was that worth 1,000 words? We'll find out when this season culminates, but I'm telling you, Steiny, I wonder if Draymond Green really understands if what he did getting thrown out the night of the team being shorthanded, the team trying to hold on to a playoff spot, if it really didn't mean what it meant to Steph and others, but there's some residual damage here, and we'll see how deep it runs. But Steiny, the head coach of the Golden State Warriors, said what he did, Draymond, was unforgivable. Damn.
Yeah, and here's the other thing I was thinking before we get into it, and it's this. So we've seen Draymond over the last 12 years, and he's gotten into it with a lot of opponents. He's gotten into it with a lot of referees. He punched Jordan Poole, we know that. He's gotten into it with Steve Kerr multiple times. He's gotten into it with Kevin Durant. We know about that one. He's gotten into it with a lot of people. But he messed with Steph.
Wow.
Like, that's what happened on Wednesday night. That what Draymond did messed with Steph Curry, and the most beloved athlete in Bay Area history, among them, for sure. And I think that's the part that has hit everybody with what Draymond Green did. He messed with Curry. I mean, this was Curry.
Got him emotional.
Nurkic.
Yeah.
Wasn't Aldama. He got at Steph Curry in a way. So let's take a listen to this, and I'll open up the phone lines at 888-957-9570. Hit it, Evan. Appreciate it.
Oh, man, just phenomenal level of competitive fight and spirit. Really fun to watch the guys. They know how important every game is right now, and you could see them come together and really fight for everything against a really good Orlando team on their home floor on a back-to-back. So that was a big-time win.
So you talk about the fight in a big moment, in a big-time win, and I have to think in my mind that had something to do with what was going through Steph's mind as Draymond gets thrown out of the game. We've all seen it, what looked like being overcome with emotion. You're there patting him on the back. We don't see that from him very often. How would you put into words why Steph responded that way in this moment?
Because of everything that you just described. I mean, every game being so important, and us fighting for everything, and then for Draymond to get kicked out 3 minutes in, it was really unforgivable. I think Steph may have even been a little upset with himself for not pulling Draymond out of there, but I think mostly it was just, come on, man, we need this. And Steph is such a fighter. He's such a competitor. He wants it so badly. And I think all of that combined just led to that reaction.
What can be done to try to head these things off? And we've talked before to you, Steve, about calling timeout if he gets one tech and maybe giving him time to decompress. But in those moments where he goes from 0 to 100 so quickly, what can be done by anyone to try to diffuse it in the moment?
Well, I actually am kicking myself a little bit because I thought, for the most part from the last 6 weeks or so since Draymond came back from the suspension, for the most part he's been really good with the refs, and I think he's found a really good balance of being competitive and feisty and playing with an edge but not going overboard. And a lot of that starts with, just staying off the refs. And I thought in the Miami game, he was on the refs too much, and I should have intervened. I should have talked to him after the game and just reminded him that, this all starts for him finding that right spot. It all starts with being able to stay off the refs, and I didn't. And I'm upset with myself for that. As for what happens, after he gets the first tech, that's completely up to Draymond. I watched the whole replay of it. We had multiple players out there. We had multiple security guys out there. At that point, we're not going to drag him back to the bench. That makes it look even worse. That looks like he's trying to get to the refs. So at that point, it's really up to him to know I can't. I got to end it, and he knows that. I've talked to him about it. He's talked to Steph about it. He apologized to Steph and Clay and the whole team. He feels terrible about it, but he made a huge mistake, and all I can say is thank God we won, because had we lost, this would be a much, much bigger issue.
Coach, it's fascinating to listen to you talk about how you sort of feel about your own role here and how Steph might feel about his own role here. Have you ever seen Steph react in that sort of an emotional way before?
Yeah, a handful of times, not often. During the seasons that we've had where there's been some frustration, I've seen Steph occasionally kind of just lose it and become really angry, really emotional. But it might be once a year. It doesn't happen very often.
You're hearing national voices again questioning Steph Curry's leadership in terms of Draymond Green's behavior. Just how much culpability is there, even for yourself, when it comes to another grown man and the way he comports himself and the words he chooses to use at an official?
Well, there's culpability for me because I'm his coach, and as I just detailed, I felt like in hindsight, I look back at that Miami game and I regret not saying something because I thought he was on them too much. So that's definitely my fault. But to your point, Draymond knows. I mean, he's a grown man. He's got to handle his own business. Any mention of Steph being culpable is just ridiculous. The way Steph has carried our franchise, represented our franchise for 15 years, it's absolutely ridiculous. He was the first one out there. You saw he was the first one out there trying to talk Draymond off and handled it the right way. And the reason Draymond got kicked out is because as he was walking back to the bench, he muttered an expletive that the refs heard. And so he deserved it. You can't do that. But that's not Steph's fault. Right. That's Draymond's fault, and that's Steph was trying to do everything he could to get him out of there.
All right, that was Steve Kerr on with the boys, Dan Dibley and Mark Willard yesterday at 3:00. Great interview. Really got into a lot of different stuff with Steve Kerr. I agree with Steve Kerr 100% about Steph has nothing to do with it. Doesn't indicate anything about his leadership. I don't think it's Steph's responsibility to keep Draymond Green in line, but if you think I'm going to focus on the word unforgivable, you're right. Because unforgivable is a word that Steve Kerr has never used before with Draymond Green. Ever. Unforgivable to me, means it's over.
Right, the end.
It's over.
End. That's what it does to me. That's, in my world, unforgivable means the end.
Like if you
can't fix it.
If you have a relationship with somebody, and somebody believes that the other person's done something unforgivable, you can't move on. Like you can't. It will constantly hang there, and it will constantly cloak whatever you're trying to do. And I guess what I'm saying is in the last day or so, after the ejection, I am starting to, like I said to Nahigian, I said to Boss, I said, it does feel like what happened Wednesday was something different than all the other things that have happened before. I don't know why it was, quote unquote, just an ejection, but the reaction of Steph Curry,
emotion,
is proof that something bigger was at play there. And then you hear a day later when Steve Kerr knows he's going to get interviewed and knows he's got to talk about it.
The dust is
settled. He chose that word.
Yeah.
And so, believe it or not, before I heard the interview, I was thinking about the Warriors today, Goo, and I was thinking, you know what? They got 10 games left. They're in 10th place. I get it. But does that mean like people aren't excited about what the way the season could end up? But even, why wouldn't you be excited about the offseason? There's going to be changes. I think there are a lot of Warrior fans out there. We haven't given them enough credit that they realize, you know what? We're going to have to transition at the end of this year. And, of course, it's going to be painful at times because we won 4 titles. But you know what? That's life. Move on. And we'll figure it out and decide what kind of road we want to go down. If Clay's back, Kuminga's a keeper or not, all those, the Wiggins, can we do anything? All those kind of things. But I'm starting to think that the number one priority for the Warriors right now may be to move off Draymond Green. That's what I believe is the case right now.
Okay.
Can anybody read